Today I want to talk about the detailed look on the Ownboard electric skateboard. This is a much more refined board comparing to other Chinese-based electric skateboards, which I will elaborate in detail later in this video, but bear in mind that this is only a personal opinion. Starting with the board itself, it's not that different from the other brands, say like Meepo or Wowgo, but this is certainly much more refined in many aspects. The foam pads are nicely cut. The battery case and the ESC case are made of metal, so it gives it just a tad more of a robust feel. Also on the website, you can see that they have done some serious waterproofing to the ESC, while also greatly lengthened the antenna to get much better reception regardless of the metal ESC case. And the motor connectors are very well thought out. For personally, I have had to replace an ill-performing ESC to a Meepo ESC, in which case I have to tear apart the ESC case and get all kinds of wiring off, and it was totally an exhausting work. Now the Ownboard simply has a plug-and-play function, so if I ever run out of rubber on the urethane of the motors, I could just simply plug and play and replace it. The deck also has a nice mellow concave to it, but personally I would love a board that has a more aggressive concave shape, but that is a personal taste. The board is concave enough. It is bouncy and soft. Comparing it to the Inboard M1 and the Meepo, my feet doesn't feel as numb after a similarly long ride. Now to the remote itself. The remote feels nice and sturdy in the hand. There is no rattling noise of any kind. You can definitely feel that this is a well-built remote. It has the usual 4-bar, 25% each indicated battery LEDs, as well as a signal indicator. There is also a gear change button and a physical forward and backward selector. Oh, did I mention there was vibrations notifications built onto the remote, so while you're riding, you can be notified of the battery levels on the go. Also, there is a very important thing, the remote battery LEDs. When the battery is not connected, the LEDs, as usual, shows the board battery level. But when you plug the micro USB charging port, the light then is switched to indicating the battery level on the remote. For a guy who is overly obsessive about not charging my lithium-ion batteries all the way to 100% to keep its longevity, this is a very nice little touch where I can monitor my battery level on my remote, keeping it nice and cozy at around 80% to 90%, where I unplug as soon as the LED goes from 3 bars to 4 bars. In my opinion, this is much better than other generic Chinese brand electric skateboards. Now to the ride feel. Personally, I feel like all the review videos on YouTube does not address the acceleration curve enough, but I guess it is hard to cover in the videos. After all, you have to ride one until you'll be able to really get the feel of a certain board. But as an owner of an Inboard M1 and a Meepo board, I can tell you that acceleration curve is really smooth, almost on par with the smoothest on that of the Inboard M1. In comparison, the Meepo tends to have a bit of delay from the control knob to actual board acceleration. Also, the acceleration on the Meepo feels a bit abrupt than the Ownboard, like it has a sudden surge of power almost 1 full second after you went full throttle on the Meepo remote. And if you're not careful with it or leaning incredibly forward with your stance, you might just fall off from the Meepo. Don't get me wrong, I love the Meepo. I just am digging more on the programming on the Ownboard ESC. The brake is also way smoother and controllable than that of a Meepo board. But of course, because I have gotten used to the Meepo board with my overpowered braking stance, I feel like the Ownboard is a bit soft on the brakes. Or should I say, I have to go all the way with my thumb on the brakes to feel the same stopping power in that of a Meepo board. The board also comes with a shiny sticker which I immediately sticked onto the charger, which is a 42-volt 2-amp charger. Personally, I would not put this thing charged overnight due to the fact that the charger might have a slight inaccuracy in the charging voltage, which might charge the board a bit more than 42 volts, say 42.3 volts, which is the full battery voltage on a 10S2P battery. Even if the charger itself is exactly 42 volts, I would not really charge it all the way to the top unless there is an upcoming group ride session. The not so full charge level gives me way more range than enough of my usual daily commute. and of course it keeps the battery very healthy. Now to the customized SANYO battery. The battery does cost a lot more, putting the board to slightly overwhelming $600 price tag, but man is that worth it. The range I get with the battery, which when I tested at that moment was charged only to 41.3 volts, and at the time I maxed out the throttle almost 90% of the way on a long straight riverside lane and run it all the way down to 32.7 volts in 3 runs, where I still have a bit of juice left, but the range I get is a whopping 24 kilometers or 15 miles. And that's with the pedal to the floor. My average speed at that time is about 28 kilometers or 17.4 miles per hour. If I ease on the throttle a bit and ride in a more relaxed manner, the board will easily have a range more than 30 kilometers. The voltage sag happens when I have about 15% power left. The speed would gradually be reduced at about 20 kilometers per hour. To give you a little more context, when I have exactly 1 bar left or 25% on the remote indicator, the top speed I get is still 30 kilometers or 18.6 miles per hour. The top speed when fully charged is about 35 kilometers or 21.7 miles per hour, just like other generic Chinese brands. But the longevity is much better with these 2700 SANYO cells with 8.4 rated amp hour of juice. Overall, I really enjoy this board. The only downside I would say is that they didn't have the Meepo Black Edition, and the concave is slightly less than the Meepo 1.5. Other than that, this is a great board with decent bushings and bearings. Remember to untighten the wheel screws about a 90 degrees counterclockwise when you first unbox it. That way, the wheel will spin much more freely. The factory always tightened them all the way to the max, which will cause friction and unwanted heat at the screws, and which will reduce the range that you get. Also, there is a coupon code KUO2018 for which when you enter you can get a $20 discount on the new purchase on a SANYO version Ownboard. Anyways, thanks for watching this detailed look and review on the Ownboard, and I will see you next time when I have a new toy in my possession. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.